Cyprus oil and gas discoveries, future and reality. Welcome back to the Yasoo Cyprus podcast. This is your host Marios, coming to you from sunny Paphos in Cyprus. In today's episode, we're going to provide an overview of Cyprus oil and gas discoveries, future and reality. Let us start with an overview introduction to this beautiful island nation of Cyprus. Let's start with the geography and location of Cyprus. The island is located in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, south of Turkey and west of Syria and Lebanon. With an area of 9,251 square km, Cyprus is the third largest island in the Mediterranean after Sicily and Sardinia. The landscape is varied, with rugged mountains running east-west across the island and coastal plains along the southern and northern coasts. The highest point is Mount Olympus at 1,952 meters. Cyprus has a typical Mediterranean climate with hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. The island's strategic location has shaped its long and rich history. Cyprus has seen many different rulers and cultures over the millennia due to its proximity to three continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. The first evidence of human activity on the island dates back to around 12,000 BC during the Neolithic era. Some of the notable historical periods and influences include the Assyrians, Egyptians, Persians, Romans, Byzantines, Franks, Venetians, Ottomans, and British. Cyprus gained independence from British rule in 1960. The capital and largest city today is Nicosia. Economically, Cyprus has transitioned from an agriculture-based economy in the 20th century to a service-based economy today. Tourism, financial services, shipping, and real estate now dominate the economic landscape. After the discovery of oil and gas reserves within the exclusive economic zone in 2011, potential hydrocarbon exports are also viewed as a new source of economic growth. However, the economy was severely hit by the financial crisis in 2013 when the banking sector collapsed. Strict austerity measures were implemented during an economic adjustment program. The economy has been slowly recovering since 2016. Now let's take a closer look at some of the major cities and geographical regions of Cyprus. Nicosia, the capital and largest city, located in the center of the island. It has been the capital since the 9th century and is the last divided capital in the world, split between the Greek Cypriot south and Turkish Cypriot north. Limassol, the second largest city, located on the southern coast. It's the main port city and a major tourism, trade and service center, known for its lively urban culture and nightlife. Larnaca, another popular seaside destination on the southern coast that serves as the country's main airport. The city has ancient roots going back to the 14th century BC. Paphos, a city on the western coast, acclaimed for its archaeological treasures. It was selected as the European Capital of Culture in 2017. Troodos Mountains, a mountain range in central and western Cyprus with the highest peak at Mount Olympus. Popular for outdoor activities and mountain villages. Akamas Peninsula, a nature preserve in the northwest known for its scenic beaches and ecological diversity. Home to loggerhead and green turtles. Kourion, an archaeological site outside of Limassol that was once a major ancient Greek city kingdom of Cyprus, dating back to the 12th century BC. Carpathia Peninsula, the panhandle in northeastern Cyprus with secluded beaches and small villages. A main attraction is the Apostolos Andreas Monastery, sitting at the edge of the peninsula. Cyprus has a population of around 1.2 million people. Greek Cypriots make up about 80% of the population and Turkish Cypriots about 18%. The official languages are Greek and Turkish, but English is widely spoken. The main religions are Greek Orthodox Christianity and Sunni Islam. Cypriot culture has been influenced by its various rulers over history, but has many unique traditions and strong hospitality. Food is an important part of culture, with staples like souvlaki, halloumi cheese, moussaka, and meze. While the political situation in Cyprus remains complex due to the division of the island since 1974, Cyprus today is a popular tourist destination that draws over 4 million visitors per year to its sunny beaches, ancient sites, mountain villages, and lively cities. The low crime rate and warm climate make it an appealing Mediterranean getaway. Cyprus continues to captivate people with its beautiful landscape, strategic location, and long cultural heritage, intertwining European, Asian, and African influences. Let's talk deep into the energy landscape here in Cyprus. Energy is vital to the functioning of our modern society, powering our homes, businesses, transportation systems, and more. Yet we rarely stop to think about where that energy comes from and how it makes its way to us. The sources of energy production and their contributions to Cyprus's national grid have undergone major shifts in recent years. Long dependent on imported oil, Cyprus has diversified its energy mix with the addition of natural gas, solar, and wind power. Let's examine the makeup of Cyprus's energy landscape today and how it's evolving to meet future needs. For decades, Cyprus relied heavily on imported petroleum to generate electricity. As recently as 2009, oil accounted for over 90% of the island's power generation. With no domestic oil reserves, Cyprus spent a sizable portion of its GDP importing oil each year. However, high costs and supply uncertainties motivated the country to explore alternative energy options. The discovery of offshore natural gas fields in 2011 marked a major turning point. The Aphrodite gas field, located in Cyprus's exclusive economic zone, is estimated to contain over 4 trillion cubic feet of gas. While extraction has been delayed due to geopolitical disputes, Cyprus began importing liquefied natural gas in 2018. Today, natural gas generates over 50% of the island's electricity. Gas emits fewer greenhouse gases than oil, lowering Cyprus's carbon footprint. Having a domestic supply also enhances energy security. Natural gas will continue displacing oil as more gas-fired power plants come online in the 2020 SS. Renewable energy sources like solar and wind have grown rapidly in Cyprus in recent years. Abundant sun and coastal breezes make the island well-suited for solar and wind farms. Renewables' share of power generation climbed from 9% in 2010 to over 15% today. Most come from solar, but dozens of wind turbines now dot Cyprus's landscape. The country aims to have renewables provide 23% of electrical power by 2030. With solar panel and wind turbine costs falling, Cyprus looks to surpass that target. One promising project is the 10-megawatt Akrotiri solar park that opened in 2021. More large-scale solar and wind farms are planned, boosted by EU funding and favorable feed-in tariff policies. Cyprus does possess some minor fossil fuel reserves. A small onshore oil field near Limassol contributes a fraction of domestic oil production. Local supplies of asphaltite, a tar-like substance, fuel one power station in Moni, but these resources play only a tiny role in the overall energy mix. One source notably absent is nuclear power. Cyprus once considered building a nuclear plant and conducted feasibility studies. However, high costs and opposition from Turkey shelved those plans indefinitely. Cyprus will instead rely on natural gas, renewables, and energy efficiency to meet electricity demand going forward. Bringing all these energy sources together is the national grid operated by the Electricity Authority of Cyprus. This network of high-voltage transmission lines, substations, and distribution infrastructure connects power plants to end users across the country. Fossil fuel and renewable energy plants feed electricity into the grid, which is then dispatched as needed to meet changing demand over a day. Maintaining grid stability as Cyprus transitions to more intermittent renewable energy will require investments in battery storage, smart grid technology, and improved interconnectors with neighboring countries. Work is underway to enhance grid flexibility and resilience in the face of growing climate change threats. So in summary, the Cypriot energy landscape has diversified beyond heavy oil dependence through the adoption of natural gas, solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources. Natural gas now dominates, while renewables' contribution continues rising. In the long term, Cyprus aims to have renewables generate over a third of its electricity as part of its sustainable energy strategy. Achieving this greener future will require finding the right balance between utilizing domestic gas resources and ramping up low-carbon solar, wind, and other renewables. It will also need sizable investments in modernizing and hardening the national grid. But pursued wisely, Cyprus can transition to a more climate-friendly and self-reliant energy system over the next decade. The energy choices Cyprus makes today will shape its economy, environment, and energy security for years to come. By tapping its wealth of sun and wind and using natural gas judiciously as a bridge fuel, Cyprus can set itself on a sustainable path. The government, energy industry, and public all have roles to play in bringing about this clean energy transformation. Cyprus has been involved in oil and gas exploration since the early 2000s, but it wasn't until 2011 that significant natural gas reserves were discovered offshore in the island's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. The first major discovery was made in Block 12, which is located southwest of Cyprus in waters about 2,000 meters deep. This block is licensed to Noble Energy, Shell, and Delek Drilling. Initial estimates indicated reserves of 8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in the Aphrodite gas field located in Block 12. Since then, additional exploration has revealed more promising reserves in other blocks licensed for hydrocarbon exploration around Cyprus. In 2018, ExxonMobil and Qatar Petroleum made a promising discovery in Block 10, which lies to the southwest of Cyprus near Egypt's Zohr gas field, one of the largest in the Mediterranean. This discovery is estimated to hold 8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. To the west of Cyprus in Block 6, a joint venture between ENI, Total, and Novatek has made discoveries such as Calypso 1 and Glaucus 1. Calypso 1 is estimated to hold between 170–230 billion cubic meters of gas, while Glaucus 1 is estimated at 142–227 billion cubic meters. Overall, Block 6 is now estimated to hold up to 2.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. One of the most recent major discoveries occurred in Block 7 northwest of Cyprus in 2019, licensed to Total and ENI. The discovery at Target Glafkos is estimated to hold about 2.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. With this discovery, the total estimated natural gas reserves around Cyprus come to over 20 trillion cubic feet, enough to potentially supply Cyprus's domestic electricity needs for decades. The exclusive economic zone surrounding Cyprus covers over 51,000 square kilometers. Based on the discoveries made so far, the identified gas fields and exploration blocks with the most promise are located in the south, southwest, west, and northwest. The regional gas discoveries have also attracted attention for the potential export opportunities they provide. Cyprus could become a player in Europe's quest to diversify its gas supplies away from Russia. While natural gas has been the main focus so far, some exploratory drilling has also been carried out around Cyprus for oil reserves. In 2018, ExxonMobil discovered a gas condensate deposit in Block 10, which also contains light oil amounting to 65 million barrels. ENI also announced a small oil discovery in Block 6 in 2018, estimated at 170 million barrels of light oil alongside its large Zohr gas field. Although Cyprus has made great strides with its offshore gas discoveries, monetizing these reserves and getting production up and running has been slow going. Regional geopolitics between Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus have made building gas export infrastructure like pipelines complex. The domestic Cyprus market alone would not be enough to justify the massive investments required. However, progress is still slowly but surely being made. In early 2022, the Aphrodite partners took a final investment decision to develop its offshore gas field. Initial plans are to supply gas locally to Cyprus, starting in 2027. There are also efforts underway to look at processing the Aphrodite gas into LNG for export. Overall, the outlook for oil and gas production around Cyprus seems cautiously optimistic. Conservative estimates indicate at least 50 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and over 200 million barrels of oil exist around the island. As regional cooperation improves and export options open up, the development of Cyprus's sizable hydrocarbon reserves could provide a great economic boost. The Republic of Cyprus has sovereign rights over a large maritime zone surrounding the island, known as the Cyprus EEZ. This was formally declared in 2004. The EEZ covers over 51,000 square kilometers of sea, which is a huge area, almost double the size of the island itself. Within this zone, Cyprus has the exclusive right to explore, exploit, conserve, and manage both living and non-living resources. The most significant exploration that has taken place in the Cyprus EEE has been for offshore oil and gas reserves. Significant natural gas discoveries have been made in recent years, putting Cyprus on the global energy map. The story began in 2011 when the world-class Aphrodite gas field was discovered off the southern coast of Cyprus by the exploration company Noble Energy. Initial estimates indicated Aphrodite held over 4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, enough to meet Cyprus's domestic energy needs for decades to come. Further exploration by international energy companies like ENI, Total, and ExxonMobil led to more gas discoveries in Cyprus's offshore blocks 6, 8, and 10. The most promising discovery was the huge Calypso gas field, found in 2018 by ENI and Total. Calypso is estimated to hold between 6-8 trillion cubic feet of gas, making it one of the largest gas fields found not just in Cyprus, but in the entire Mediterranean region. Its size and quality make Calypso a world-class gas field that could be pivotal for Europe's energy security. But it's not just about natural gas. Cyprus's EEZ is also rich in a range of other resources. Efforts are underway to map out the seabed geology and identify potential sites for offshore wind farms. As the costs of wind power generation fall, Cyprus is keen to exploit its ideal conditions for wind energy, and the EEZ may hold reserves of precious metals like copper, zinc, and gold. Further surveying and exploration will reveal the zone's full resource potential. Beyond natural resources, the Cyprus EEZ is a treasure chest of archaeological discoveries lying beneath the waves. Due to Cyprus's strategic location in the Mediterranean and its long history, The surrounding seabed holds remnants from numerous ancient shipwrecks and submerged settlements. Exploration using advanced deep-sea technology has uncovered spectacular finds. For example, divers from the University of Southampton uncovered the remains of a 6,000-year-old prehistoric settlement submerged just off the coast of Larnaca in 2018. The remains included stone tools and structures, providing insights into the world's oldest maritime community. Many ancient shipwrecks have also been identified and explored within the Cyprus EEZ, carrying amphorae and other artifacts that are thousands of years old. The most groundbreaking underwater discovery came in 2020, when researchers discovered the well-preserved wrecks of 3 medieval ships off Protaras. The ships were packed with cargo and are believed to date back to the 13th and 15th century. This find provides a unique snapshot into medieval maritime trade and could substantively add to our knowledge of the island's history as a trading hub. And that's not all. The Cyprus EEZ still has immense potential for discoveries not just under the waves, but in the water column itself. Studies are underway to map and protect the diverse marine ecosystems and species found here. Conservation efforts aim to maintain fish stocks and vulnerable habitats like coral reefs and seagrass meadows. New marine species are still being found, like the rhodonose shark that was discovered right here in Cyprus's EEZ in 2019. While natural gas has dominated the headlines, we mustn't lose sight of Cyprus's EEZ as an expansive marine zone with hidden depths still waiting to be revealed. We've barely scratched the surface in terms of exploring and understanding this uniquely rich and biodiverse area of the Mediterranean that we're fortunate to call our own. The ability to tap the resources in the Cyprus EEZ will be a major boost for the economy and energy security. However, careful environmental management will be needed to ensure offshore activities are conducted responsibly and sustainably. Striking the right balance will allow Cyprus to benefit from the EEZ's riches, while also preserving its integrity for generations to come. Looking ahead, continued efforts will be made to fully map the Cyprus EEZ's characteristics and discover all of its natural assets. Advanced research vessels, underwater drones, and sonar technology will help reveal more of the fascinating secrets that lie hidden beneath the waves. International collaboration will also be key by pooling expertise and resources to explore such a large and complex region. The story of exploration and discovery in the Cyprus EEZ is just beginning. Huge progress has been made in the decades since it was declared, but much more remains to be done. With perseverance and responsible stewardship, the benefits of unlocking the EEZ's resources can be immense for Cyprus. This is an exciting time, and I look forward to seeing what new treasures will be uncovered in Cyprus's vast maritime zone in the years and decades to come. As many of you know, significant natural gas discoveries have been made in Cyprus's exclusive economic zone in recent years. In 2011, Noble Energy announced the discovery of 5 to 8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in Block 12, off the southern coast of Cyprus. Further discoveries in Blocks 10 and 6 in 2018 and 2019 have indicated total reserves likely exceeding 100 trillion cubic feet. Needless to say, these finds have generated tremendous excitement and expectations of an economic windfall for Cyprus. However, successfully leveraging these resources for economic development requires strong policy and regulation from the government. The Ministry of Energy, Commerce and Industry is the main body overseeing Cyprus's energy strategy. They've stated their goals are to secure energy independence for the country, fully exploit hydrocarbon resources, and position Cyprus as a supplier of energy to the EU through the development of natural gas infrastructure. Some of the policies and regulations enacted to achieve these goals include licensing rounds for exploration and drilling, environmental regulations, and natural gas infrastructure development plans. The government has so far completed 3 licensing rounds, awarding concessions for offshore blocks to major energy companies like ExxonMobil, Total, Eni, and Chevron to explore and exploit. Strict environmental regulations have also been put in place to ensure safe and responsible drilling operations. For example, environmental impact assessments must be conducted, and drill operators are liable for any environmental damage caused. There are also restrictions on drilling during fish spawning seasons. Regarding infrastructure, the government has plans to build an offshore LNG terminal and associated pipelines to process and export natural gas. Granting rights for onshore reception facilities is also critical. However, development has been slow due to tensions with Turkey over regional sovereignty. Negotiations are ongoing. When it comes to revenues, Cyprus adopted a production-sharing contract model with energy companies versus a concessionary model. This helps Cyprus retain a higher share of revenues. There are also taxes on profits and royalties on production enforced. A national hydrocarbon company has been established to represent Cyprus's interests. These policies and regulations demonstrate Cyprus's efforts to capitalize on its natural gas resources. However, significant challenges remain. Attracting necessary investment and dealing with geopolitics have proven difficult for Cyprus. Turkey continues to object and threaten intervention in Cyprus's drilling activities, citing disputed maritime boundaries. The unresolved Cyprus problem also negatively impacts investment interests and complicates development decisions. Cyprus's small domestic market and isolation from major European pipeline networks also pose export challenges. Experts argue more strategic focus is needed in certain areas. Growing investment by settling sovereignty disputes and improving ties with Turkey and northern Cyprus. Creative commercial arrangements could unlock value. Investing in domestic market growth by spurring local gas demand through incentives to convert power plants, vehicles, and industries to natural gas. Strategically targeting key export markets like Egypt and Lebanon with pipeline interconnectivity. Regional cooperation is key. Enhancing competitiveness with better fiscal terms, reduced red tape, and incentivizing exploration in under-drilled blocks. In summary, Cyprus has made admirable progress since its first natural gas discovery in 2011. While the COVID-19 pandemic and geopolitics have delayed some development plans, the government continues working to leverage its sizable hydrocarbon resources. With prudent policies aimed at attracting investment, growing domestic consumption, enabling exports, and good regional cooperation, Cyprus can fulfill the promise of energy independence and economic progress its natural gas reserves provide. Of course, careful environmental monitoring and sustainable extraction practices must remain top priorities. The door also remains open to cooperating with Turkey on a win-win development plan someday. But for now, let's continue supporting our leaders as they navigate the intricacies and politics involved in maximizing opportunities from Cyprus's energy resources. The major players involved in oil and gas exploration and production in Cyprus. As many of you know, significant natural gas discoveries have been made in Cyprus's exclusive economic zone in recent years, which has sparked a boom in offshore drilling activities. Several major international companies are currently licensed and actively exploring Cyprus's offshore blocks, hoping to tap into the island's hydrocarbon resources. In this episode, I'll profile and discuss the key companies involved, their history and experience, as well as their current operations and plans for Cyprus. ExxonMobil. First up is ExxonMobil, the largest publicly traded international oil and gas company in the world. ExxonMobil has partnered with Qatar Petroleum to carry out exploration activities in Block 10 of Cyprus's EEZ. ExxonMobil is an energy giant with operations spanning the globe. It's also one of the largest refiners and marketers of petroleum products. With its extensive resources and experience, ExxonMobil can drill in deep waters like those off Cyprus's coast. In 2017, ExxonMobil won the licensing rights to Block 10 by submitting a winning bid of over $100 million. Drilling in Block 10 began in 2018, but has been progressing slowly. Just last month, ExxonMobil announced that it is ramping up drilling activities to confirm the block's natural gas potential. If significant reservoirs are discovered, ExxonMobil's global expertise and financial strength could make it well-equipped to lead its development. As a key player in Cyprus's hydrocarbon scene, the company's success or failure to explore Block 10 could impact the future of oil and gas in the country. Another big name in oil and gas present in Cyprus is Total Energies. The French multinational company has been active in Block 6 of Cyprus's EEZ in partnership with Italy's ENI since 2018. Total Energies is among the world's largest oil companies, with operations in over 130 countries. It boasts substantial technical expertise in offshore oil and gas projects. The company also has growing interests in renewables and clean energy. In Block 6, Total Energies operates 2 drillings in what is known as the Calypso gas field. Initial exploratory drilling indicates Calypso could contain significant quantities of natural gas, ranging from 4 to 8 trillion cubic feet. Total Energies is now seeking to appraise and develop the reservoir. The company plans further appraisal drillings this year as part of its multi-billion-dollar investment in Block 6. Moving forward, Total Energies' financial strength and technical capabilities make it well-suited to exploit any reserves within Calypso. U.S. oil major Chevron is another heavyweight in Cyprus's hydrocarbon scene. Since 2012, Chevron has been licensed to operate in Blocks 11 and 12 offshore Cyprus. Headquartered in California, Chevron is one of the world's largest oil companies, involved in every aspect of the industry from oil production to refining and marketing. The company has extensive technological expertise that could prove key to unlocking Cyprus's offshore potential. So far, Chevron has discovered gas at the Aphrodite field in Block 12. Estimates indicate Aphrodite could hold around 4.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. However, Chevron has not yet moved forward in developing the field commercially. Recently, the company has intensified exploration efforts in Block 11. Just last month, Chevron announced a significant gas discovery at the Zeus 1 drilling site in Block 11. Initial reports suggest Zeus 1 could substantially expand Cyprus's proven gas reserves. As it appraises these findings, Chevron's technical experience and investor base mean it has the resources to develop major fields like Aphrodite and Zeus 1. Royal Dutch Shell, commonly known as Shell, is another global oil and gas titan with operations in Cyprus. Since 2016, Shell has been licensed to explore Block 11 offshore Cyprus in partnership with Chevron. Shell is one of the world's largest energy companies, engaging in every aspect of the oil and gas industry. It has prominent technological expertise in liquefied natural gas and deep-water exploration. In Block 11, Shell will work closely with Chevron to appraise and hopefully develop recent promising gas discoveries like Zeus 1. Shell brings over 50 years of regional experience in the East Mediterranean to the table. If significant reserves are confirmed, the company's financial strength and access to gas markets could aid in advancing commercialization. The involvement of these oil and gas majors signals Cyprus's hydrocarbon potential has drawn substantial international interest. Their technical capabilities and financial firepower may speed up exploration and development activities in the country's offshore blocks. However, only time will tell if Cyprus's gas streams live up to expectations. That wraps up our overview of the major players in Cyprus's oil and gas landscape. ExxonMobil, Total Energies, Chevron, and Shell are all powerhouses with the knowledge and resources to tap into Cyprus's offshore hydrocarbon resources. As they make progress exploring their licensed blocks, the picture of the island's true natural gas reserves potential will become clearer. For now, we will have to wait and see if their efforts will translate into concrete-producing gas fields, and if Cyprus will become a regional energy player. The international collaborations in the oil and gas sector. As many of you know, significant natural gas reserves have been discovered in the waters surrounding Cyprus over the past decade. However, as a small nation still recovering from the financial crisis, Cyprus lacks the technical expertise and financial resources to fully develop these resources on its own. This is where international partnerships come into play. One of the first and most important agreements Cyprus signed was with the American company Noble Energy in 2008. This agreement allowed Noble to begin exploration in Cyprus's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. Noble made the first major discovery of natural gas off the southern coast at the Aphrodite field in 2011. However, further development of Aphrodite has stalled due to low global gas prices and the complex politics of the region. In 2012, Cyprus signed an agreement with Israel to delineate the boundary between the two countries' EEZs. This enabled both countries to clearly define the resource rights within their waters. Additionally, Noble Energy has production rights in Israeli waters, so cooperation between the two nations could allow for synergies in developing cross-border fields. Another significant partnership is the one between Cyprus and Egypt. In 2003, the two countries signed a framework agreement for cooperation in the oil and gas sector. This led to agreements between Egyptian company Dolphinus Holdings and Cypriot company Euro-Africa Interconnector in 2018 to transport and process Cypriot gas in Egypt's existing LNG facilities. This is a prime example of using regional ties to enable economies of scale. Cyprus benefits from Egypt's existing infrastructure rather than having to build its own costly LNG terminal. Initial plans are to transport gas from the Aphrodite field to Egypt for processing via an underwater pipeline. Moving beyond the neighborhood, Cyprus has looked to Europe to bolster its energy security. In 2019, Cyprus, Greece, and Israel signed an agreement with the European Union to construct the EastMed pipeline. This ambitious project would connect gas reserves in the Eastern Mediterranean to Europe through Greece and Italy. Though the pipeline is still in the planning stages, it demonstrates the importance Europe places on diversifying its energy sources and reducing its dependence on Russian gas. The European Investment Bank has agreed to help finance the project as well. Of course, we can't discuss energy in this region without mentioning Turkey. The island of Cyprus has been divided since 1974, when Turkey invaded the northern third of the island. Turkey does not recognize the internationally accepted EEZ boundaries established by the Republic of Cyprus. This dispute has led to increasing tensions between Turkey and other countries in the region. In response to a Turkish drillship entering Cypriot waters in 2019, the EU froze assets and imposed travel bans on 2 Turkish energy executives. The political dispute over resources in the Eastern Mediterranean remains unresolved. While the Turkish situation poses legal and security concerns, Cyprus has continued pushing forward. In early 2022, Chevron was brought on board the Aphrodite project, buying out Noble Energy's stake. Chevron is expected to provide technical expertise in developing the reservoir. Cyprus also signed an agreement with French company Total Energies in 2022 for exploration in Blocks 6 and 11 within the Cyprus EEZ. ExxonMobil is expected to begin exploratory drilling this year as part of its production sharing contract with Cyprus. So in summary, Cyprus has succeeded in attracting big players in the oil and gas industry to invest in developing its offshore resources. By leveraging regional ties, collaborating with the EU, and using production sharing agreements, small Cyprus aims to become a future global energy supplier. The road ahead remains long and complex. Regional disputes over boundaries will continue to cause delays. Environmental concerns from tourism-dependent coastal communities are increasing, and volatility in energy markets affects project economics. Yet the abundance of natural gas available in the Eastern Mediterranean is too large to ignore. With sensible policies focused on partnerships, Cyprus can ensure its resources are developed in a way that benefits the nation. The government must continue striking a balance between commercial viability, energy security, and geopolitical stability. That concludes my overview of Cyprus's key international collaborations in the oil and gas sector. I hope this breakdown gave you insight into how our country can best leverage its regional ties and natural resources going forward. As always, you can find all my podcast episodes streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other major platforms. Here, we're going to explore some of the latest technologies and innovations being used in the exploration, extraction, and production of oil and gas here in Cyprus. The discovery of significant natural gas reserves in the waters of Cyprus over the past decade has led to a boom in oil and gas operations on the island. Energy companies from around the world have flocked here, bringing with them cutting-edge tools and techniques aimed at efficiently and safely tapping into these lucrative hydrocarbon resources. One area that has seen dramatic innovation is subsurface mapping and modeling. Geologists and geophysicists now have access to advanced 3D seismic imaging technology that provides detailed pictures of what's happening deep underground. These images allow them to pinpoint the most promising spots to drill exploratory wells. Sophisticated computer models can also simulate the behavior of subsurface oil and gas deposits. This helps companies plan optimal well designs and production strategies. Drones equipped with sensors are even being used to supplement seismic data collection. Their aerial views and mobility allow for rapid, high-resolution surveys across wide areas on land and offshore. Drilling itself continues to become more high-tech. Extended reach drilling and horizontal drilling methods allow companies to access hard-to-reach reservoirs from a single well pad. This reduces environmental impact and costs. Automated drill rigs are increasingly run by remote operators, improving safety and efficiency. Sensors along the well bore provide continuous telemetry data to monitor and adjust drilling in real time. When it comes to extracting oil and gas, artificial lift technologies help boost production rates. Submersible pumps, gas lifts, and plunger lifts all work to bring hydrocarbons to the surface more quickly and reliably. Chemical injection systems and microseismic monitoring are used to maintain well integrity and prevent leaks. Processing and infrastructure have also been upgraded. Floating production, storage, and offloading vessels, known as FPSOs, allow offshore resources to be processed and stored right at the drill site before being exported. Onshore facilities utilize modular construction methods to fast-track development. Instrumentation gives operators better control over separation, treatment, compression, and other aspects of production. The drive toward digitalization and automation is transforming Cyprus's oil and gas industry too. Exploration data, production metrics, equipment performance, and more are increasingly being monitored remotely through cloud-based systems. Analytics converted into actionable insights help managers make smarter decisions. Control rooms can even be run with minimal on-site personnel. Machine learning algorithms are being incorporated into many aspects of operations, from seismic analysis to predictive maintenance. Drones, underwater robots, and other autonomous technologies carry out inspections, surveillance, and basic tasks without direct human involvement. Virtual and augmented reality are used to train workers and plan operations. Sustainability is another priority being advanced by innovation. Carbon capture and sequestration methods reduce the climate impact of oil and gas activities. Technologies that integrate renewable energy, battery storage, and electric drives aim to lower emissions. More efficient equipment, stringent leak detection, and reduced flaring further minimize the environmental footprint. The oil and gas industry here in Cyprus has come a long way technologically, but the pace of innovation shows no signs of slowing. With untapped reserves still awaiting discovery and global energy demand continuing to rise, there are strong incentives to keep pushing boundaries. The rewards for companies that successfully leverage new technologies go beyond improved production and profits. A reputation for innovation also attracts top talent and investment. For Cyprus, advancements in this key economic sector not only provide energy security, but also establish the country as a hub for research and technical expertise. Today, I want to discuss the environmental impact of oil and gas activities here in Cyprus and the measures being taken to mitigate that impact. As many of you know, significant natural gas reserves have been discovered off the southern coast of Cyprus in recent years. This has led to increased offshore drilling and exploration by energy companies looking to tap into these resources. While the potential economic benefits are substantial, these activities don't come without environmental risks. One major concern is the possibility of an oil spill. We need only look at examples like the Deepwater Horizon spill in the Gulf of Mexico to see the devastating effects a major spill can have on marine ecosystems. The Mediterranean is home to many unique species and habitats that would be put at risk by a large oil release. Beyond the threat of spills, there are also chronic impacts associated with routine drilling operations. The noise, traffic, and emissions from rigs and support vessels can disturb wildlife. Chemicals and drilling mud used in the extraction process also raise contamination concerns. Fortunately, Cyprus has recognized these environmental risks and taken steps to address them. All oil and gas projects must conduct environmental impact assessments and secure approval of environmental management plans before being granted licenses. Some important mitigation measures include requiring double-hull design on tankers to prevent spills, using blowout preventers and other well-controlled measures to avoid uncontrolled releases, having oil spill response equipment and plans in place, restricting drilling during key migration and breeding seasons for vulnerable species, using noise reduction technologies on rigs and vessels, treating, re-injecting, or properly disposing of drilling discharges and wastes. The Cypriot government has also designated protected areas to be off-limits for oil and gas activities. These include shark migration corridors, sea turtle nesting beaches, and sensitive seabed habitats. Projects proposed near protected areas receive additional environmental scrutiny. While these measures are reassuring, continued diligence and oversight will be needed. Transparency regarding drilling operations and spill prevention systems is important for ensuring standards are met. Monitoring programs should track impacts on fisheries, habitats, and protected species over time. As operations expand, so too should investment in conservation and sustainable resource management. The vast oil and gas reserves in Cyprus's waters represent an enormous economic opportunity, but they also represent an ecological responsibility. Balancing these interests through science-based protections and impact mitigation will be key. With prudent policies and oversight, oil and gas development can proceed while still safeguarding the precious marine ecosystems of this region. The energy industry, government regulators, and conservation groups will need to keep an open dialogue and learn from one another. If we maintain high environmental standards and have adequate response protocols in place, the risks can be managed. But we must remain vigilant against complacency. Accidents and mistakes happen, especially when profits are prioritized over precautions. As citizens, we play a role too. We can keep pressure on industry and officials to make environmental stewardship a top priority. The growth of the oil and gas sector does not have to come at the cost of sustainability, but achieving that requires our continued awareness, engagement, and demand for responsible practices. The discoveries off Cyprus's shores are undoubtedly important to our country's economy and energy security. But just as important is protecting our beautiful beaches, abundant fisheries, and rich biodiversity for generations to come. With care and foresight, these dual goals need not compete. I'm hopeful that through innovation and safe operations, Cyprus can tap its offshore resources in a way that is clean, green, and sustaining. Here we're going to dive into the economic benefits and challenges associated with the oil and gas industry here in Cyprus. The discovery of natural gas reserves off the southern coast of Cyprus over the past decade has generated a lot of excitement and speculation about the potential economic windfall these resources could provide. Some have predicted that Cyprus could experience an economic boom similar to other oil-rich nations. However, exploiting these offshore hydrocarbon resources also poses some significant challenges. Let's start by looking at some of the potential economic benefits. First and foremost is the prospect of energy self-sufficiency for Cyprus. Having our own domestically produced natural gas could help reduce our dependence on imported energy. This could not only provide energy security, but also insulation from global energy price shocks. Another major benefit is the potential revenue these natural resources could generate. The government of Cyprus would earn income from production sharing agreements and royalties paid by oil and gas companies. This revenue could provide an important new income stream for Cyprus's government budget. Conservative estimates project billions in potential government revenue over the next few decades if exploitation goes smoothly. This influx of revenue could then be used to invest in education, infrastructure, renewables, and other key sectors to promote economic diversification. There is also the potential for a sovereign wealth fund to ensure the responsible long-term management of this new revenue stream. In addition to government revenue, the oil and gas industry could also drive job creation. Thousands of jobs may be generated to support exploration, drilling, and production operations. This includes high-paying jobs requiring technical skills and expertise. The development of associated industries and infrastructure could also employ many local workers. For example, constructing pipelines, storage facilities, roads, and other infrastructure will require civil engineers, project managers, and builders. Producing equipment like rigs, pumps, and valves could support domestic manufacturing. Shipping, construction, telecoms, and financial services are other sectors likely to benefit. Local service providers to the oil and gas industry can prosper. Job training programs may also be needed to develop the technical skills required by the industry. This employment and economic activity could provide a helpful boost as Cyprus emerges from the recent financial crisis. However, despite this upside potential, exploiting offshore hydrocarbon resources also poses some significant economic challenges that must be carefully managed. First, there is the so-called resource curse to contend with. Many oil-rich developing countries have suffered from poor economic management, corruption, and reduced economic competitiveness as a result of sudden oil wealth. Avoiding the pitfalls of the resource curse will require strong transparency and governance standards. Another major challenge is that the oil and gas industry employs relatively few workers compared to its output and revenue. Most operational jobs require highly specialized skills. The industry is also quite capital-intensive, meaning most of its revenue is spent on advanced equipment rather than employing local workers. This limits the direct employment benefits for average Cypriot workers. The influx of foreign oil and gas workers could also potentially displace jobs in other sectors like tourism and agriculture through a mechanism known as Dutch disease. Additionally, fluctuating global energy prices make oil and gas revenue unpredictable over the long term. Production and revenue may decline as reserves are depleted. This volatility requires conservative financial management and diversification into other sectors. Oil spills and other environmental damage associated with exploration and production are other risk factors that must be carefully managed. Local communities will rightfully expect world-class safety standards to avoid environmental catastrophes. In summary, the development of Cyprus's offshore natural gas reserves presents a mixed bag of both exciting economic opportunities and challenges. Responsible management of this resource has the potential to provide a new revenue stream, support economic diversification, and stimulate job creation. However, avoiding pitfalls like resource mismanagement, loss of competitiveness in other sectors, and environmental damage will require prudent policymaking. A balanced approach is needed to ensure oil and gas production provides lasting benefits rather than quick riches followed by a crash. The prudent course will require strong institutions, transparency, diversification into other industries, and sustained investment in Cyprus's human capital and infrastructure. If managed carefully, our natural gas reserves can propel our nation toward a more prosperous and sustainable economic future. Now I want to dive into the important topic of infrastructure development as it relates to the oil and gas sector here in Cyprus. As many of you know, significant natural gas reserves have been discovered off the southern coast of Cyprus in recent years. This has generated a lot of excitement and optimism about the future economic prospects for the country. However, to fully capitalize on these offshore hydrocarbon resources, major investments need to be made in infrastructure such as pipelines, refineries, and export terminals. The development of this infrastructure will allow us to process and export natural gas from the fields offshore to markets abroad. It is a crucial link in leveraging our natural gas reserves for economic growth. The government has made infrastructure development a top priority and is working to attract investment from both public and private sources. Let's start by looking at some of the key pipeline projects in the works. The Cyprus Gas Company is developing a pipeline connecting offshore gas fields to an onshore terminal at Vasilikos. This is known as the Cyprus Gas Pipeline Project. It will be approximately 150 kilometers long and have the capacity to transport up to 700 million cubic feet of gas per day. Construction is set to begin later this year or early next year. In addition, there are plans for a subsea pipeline linking Cyprus and Egypt. This would allow for direct access to Egypt's two liquefied natural gas, or LNG, terminals. The proposed pipeline would run between Cyprus's Aphrodite gas field and Egypt's Idku LNG plant. Feasibility studies are still underway, but it could be an important export route for Cypriot gas. Apart from pipelines, a key focus is the development of gas processing and liquefaction facilities. Cyprus's energy minister has touted plans for the construction of an LNG terminal at Vasilikos. This would enable gas exports to distant markets by loading LNG onto tankers. The LNG plant is estimated to cost around $9 billion. Funding discussions are ongoing with possible foreign partners. Another major infrastructure project in the pipeline is the Eastern Mediterranean Refinery. This large-scale refinery at Vasilikos is estimated to cost 1.4 billion euros. It will have the capacity to process 220,000 barrels of crude oil per day. The refinery aims to fulfill domestic demand for oil products while also generating exports. All of these infrastructure projects, pipelines, liquefaction terminals, and refineries, require massive capital investment. However, the Cypriot government recognizes that the development of the oil and gas sector hinges on having this infrastructure in place. These strategic assets will connect offshore reserves to local and international markets. To attract investment, the government is establishing a hydrocarbons fund. Revenue generated from hydrocarbon activities will be channeled into this fund. A portion will then finance key infrastructure projects related to the energy sector. This innovative funding mechanism will support critical infrastructure development. The government has also recently passed amendments to its tax and royalty framework to boost upstream development. They increase the amortization rate for petroleum infrastructure investment to 20% from 10%. This enables companies to claim capital cost deductions faster, incentivizing infrastructure spending. The amount of royalties payable was also reduced, making development projects more commercially viable. In addition to domestic policy adjustments, Cyprus is leveraging its regional partnerships and relationships to drive infrastructure development. The country has cultivated close energy cooperation with neighbors like Egypt, Israel, and Greece. Memorandums of understanding have been signed around joint infrastructure initiatives. This energy diplomacy helps facilitate coordinated infrastructure investments. While exciting progress is being made, experts note that Cyprus still faces challenges on the infrastructure front. Red tape and bureaucratic delays need to be minimized. Environmental and local community concerns have to be adequately addressed. And investors must be persuaded that Cyprus is a competitive and attractive destination for their infrastructure funds. In closing, it is clear that infrastructure development will play a pivotal role in unlocking the full potential of Cyprus's offshore hydrocarbon resources. Pipelines, refineries, and export terminals will connect the country to regional and global markets. Attracting investment, establishing funding mechanisms, and cooperating regionally will propel these mega projects forward. The development of oil and gas infrastructure is crucial for diversifying the Cypriot economy and driving sustainable growth. Now I'll be providing an in-depth analysis of the regulatory framework that governs the oil and gas industry here in Cyprus. The discovery of natural gas reserves in the waters south of Cyprus over the past decade has generated a lot of excitement and anticipation about the future of the industry in our country. However, developing these resources requires having a robust and effective regulatory system in place. In today's episode, we'll explore the key regulations related to licensing, taxation, and environmental protections that shape oil and gas operations in Cyprus. Let's start with licensing. The cornerstone of Cyprus's regulatory framework is the Hydrocarbons Law passed in 2007. This established the legal regime for awarding licenses for exploration and production activities in our Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. Under the law, the Ministry of Energy is responsible for conducting licensing rounds, evaluating applications, and granting licenses or concessions to qualified companies. Licenses are awarded based on criteria like technical expertise, experience, and financial capability. The current licensing round covers blocks in the south of Cyprus near the massive Aphrodite gas field. Companies obtaining licenses have exclusive rights to explore, drill, and extract petroleum resources from a designated block. Licenses initially last for 3 years for exploration, with the option to extend twice for 2 additional years. If a commercial discovery is made, the license converts to a production concession lasting up to 25 years. All subcontracting and operations must be approved by the Ministry of Energy. Additionally, hydrocarbon reservoirs that extend across boundaries between licensed blocks are subject to joint development agreements. The next key aspect is taxation. Cyprus has established a taxation framework specific to the hydrocarbon industry to receive public revenue from production activities. The main taxes imposed are a royalty on production and a specialized corporate income tax. The royalty is levied on the market value of petroleum extracted from reservoirs within Cyprus's EEZ and territorial waters. The standard royalty rate is 7%, though the government can adjust this between 5–13% depending on market conditions. Royalty payments must be made monthly. There is also a specialized corporate income tax rate of 12.5% applied to profits from hydrocarbon exploitation. This is assessed and collected under the country's general income tax rules. Additionally, a special defense contribution tax of 17% is imposed on dividend distributions to shareholders. Through these tax mechanisms, Cyprus seeks to secure a fair share of profits for the public while maintaining a favorable rate for investors in the capital-intensive oil and gas industry. The third main component of Cyprus's regulatory framework aims to protect the environment. Natural gas production can carry risks for marine ecosystems as well as air pollution. The hydrocarbons law and related regulations include provisions to mitigate environmental damage. For offshore drilling, companies must conduct impact assessments and implement prevention measures. Projects cannot receive final approval without passing an environmental review. Rig operators also need to model potential spills and have contingency plans. During production, wastewater discharge, air emissions, and drilling chemical use must be controlled and monitored. Companies are subject to inspection and may have to pay for remediation or penalties for violations. Further environmental regulations cover well decommissioning, limiting flaring, and mandating strict health and safety standards. Cyprus's framework aligns with best practices internationally. While not yet fully tested, these regulations aim to enable oil and gas development while safeguarding our natural assets. So in summary, Cyprus has established a comprehensive system of regulation for its nascent hydrocarbons industry. Licenses set terms for exploration and production, subject to ministry oversight. Taxation seeks a balance between revenue and investment, and environmental rules attempt to prevent harm from offshore activities. While debate continues about managing resources responsibly, this framework provides the government oversight needed for the oil and gas sector to proceed. As companies now move forward with exploration drilling, the real test will be how effectively these regulations are implemented in practice. There are still challenges around monitoring compliance, enforcement capacity, and striking the right balance between different priorities. However, Cyprus has laid the legal groundwork to capitalize on its offshore energy potential while managing risks and rewards for the nation. Now we're going to dive into the oil and gas sector and discuss some of the key challenges and risks it faces. As many of you probably know, Cyprus has significant offshore natural gas reserves that remain largely undeveloped. Oil and gas exploration in the island's exclusive economic zone has discovered huge natural gas fields like Aphrodite, Calypso, and Glaucus. However, exploiting these findings has proven difficult. One major challenge is the geopolitical tensions surrounding maritime boundaries and energy resources in the eastern Mediterranean. The exclusive economic zones of Cyprus and Turkey overlap, and Turkey disputes Cyprus's rights to develop offshore gas without Ankara's approval. This has led to escalating confrontations between Turkey and Cyprus, Greece, Egypt, Israel, and others. Turkey has sent research ships into Cypriot waters, raising tensions. This geopolitical uncertainty poses risks for energy companies needed to develop Cypriot gas fields. Beyond the geopolitics, there are technical and commercial challenges to exploiting Cypriot natural gas. Extracting gas from deepwater fields like Calypso requires advanced technical expertise and significant investments in infrastructure like pipelines and liquefied natural gas terminals. Cyprus is still working to establish itself as an oil and gas producer, so it lacks some of the specialized infrastructure and regulatory frameworks needed. Attracting the right companies and talent to develop complex deepwater projects is not always easy. There are also market risks from volatility in global gas prices. Natural gas prices have seen sharp ups and downs in recent years. Long-term investments in gas production require some price stability. But unpredictable swings in prices driven by factors like economic growth, seasonal demand shifts, and geopolitics can give investors pause. With the global energy transition accelerating, there is uncertainty around long-term natural gas demand as renewables expand. Gas oversupply issues in Europe have also impacted pricing dynamics. These market risks add complexities for companies assessing multi-billion-dollar development projects. On top of these challenges, the small island setting of Cyprus poses some constraints. Cyprus has limited indigenous populations and labor pools to supply a major natural gas industry. The country's domestic market is also very small. These factors mean Cyprus's gas reserves would be predominantly for export. However, its small size and geographic isolation create challenges in linking Cypriot gas to larger regional markets. While the risks are substantial, Cyprus does have opportunities to overcome these hurdles. The Aphrodite gas field is commercially viable for development, and some progress is being made. The field could be linked to Egypt's LNG facilities, leveraging infrastructure in a neighboring country. The European Union and regional partners are also keen to develop Cyprus's resources and support its emergence as an energy producer. New exploration may reveal additional reserves that improve project economics, but a long-term development plan requires strategy, diplomacy, and commercial pragmatism. Cyprus and its partners should focus on creative risk management and mitigation. For example, production sharing agreements could reduce exposure to gas price volatility. Regional cooperation and mutually beneficial energy corridors connecting supplies to markets will be key. And manageable initial projects can establish a precedent for further development down the line. So I'll be discussing the prospects of the oil and gas industry here in Cyprus. The discovery of significant natural gas reserves in the island's exclusive economic zone has generated a lot of excitement and speculation about the future of this sector. We'll explore some of the potential developments, new exploration efforts and trends that could shape the oil and gas industry in the years ahead. A lot is happening, so let's dive right in. Recent discoveries. First, let's recap some of the key discoveries made in Cypriot waters over the past decade. In 2011, Noble Energy announced the discovery of 8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas at the Aphrodite field off the southern coast. Further exploration found additional promising reservoirs like Onosagoras, Calypso, and Glafkos. Most recently, ExxonMobil discovered a natural gas deposit estimated to hold 8 trillion cubic feet at the Glaucus 1 field in 2019. These are all hugely significant findings that indicate the potential for Cyprus to become a major regional player in natural gas. The size and quality of the reserves found so far are very encouraging and motivate further exploration around the island. Upcoming exploration. Building on these discoveries, several new exploration initiatives are planned over the next few years. Earlier this month, ExxonMobil and partner Qatar Petroleum were awarded a license to carry out further drilling in Block 10 of Cyprus's exclusive economic zone. They plan to start their first exploratory well this year. French company Total Energies also holds licenses for Blocks 6 and 11 and intends to begin drilling after 2024. Additionally, Italian firm ENI was recently licensed to explore Blocks 2, 3, 8, and 9. So we can expect ongoing exploration activity with several wells planned between 2024 to 2027. The hope is that these efforts will uncover even more recoverable resources. If initial estimates are confirmed, Cyprus's total natural gas reserves could be on par with Israel's significant Leviathan and Tamar fields. Development timelines. Assuming additional large-scale reservoirs are discovered, when could we realistically start seeing this gas developed commercially? Right now, the most advanced project is the Aphrodite field, with an investment decision on its development expected in 2024. This would pave the way for the gas to start flowing to markets by 2027. However, some analysts believe we might see the timeline accelerated. With Europe's demand for non-Russian gas rising, Cyprus's resources could come online sooner to help fill the supply gap. Beyond Aphrodite, the timeline for developing any discoveries is likely 5+ years. Once commercially viable resources are proven, it takes time to make final investment decisions, construct necessary infrastructure like pipelines and liquefied natural gas terminals, and drill production wells. But the rewards could be significant. Developing Cyprus offshore gas would bring in major revenue for the country. Emerging trends. As these potential developments play out, what are some key trends we might see over the next decade? First, natural gas is expected to form the backbone of Cyprus's energy mix moving forward. With the planned phasing out of aging fuel oil plants, gas will fill the gap both for electricity generation and potentially as a transportation fuel. Liquefying the gas for easier export also seems likely. We should also expect more renewable energy integration despite gas growth. The government has set ambitious renewable targets, so gas and renewables may work together to displace more polluting fuels. Additionally, regional cooperation with neighbors like Israel and Egypt will increase when it comes to things like utilizing pipeline infrastructure and negotiating export deals. Taking advantage of the island's strategic location for gas monetization makes sense. Now, I want to dive into an important issue: how oil and gas companies engage with local communities and stakeholders. The involvement of communities is crucial when extractive industries like oil and gas set up operations. These megaprojects can transform rural areas overnight, bringing both risks and rewards for residents. A responsible company will make community engagement a priority from the earliest stages. Let's look first at how communities can be affected when oil and gas moves into an area. On the positive side, this industry brings major investment and job creation. For example, building pipelines, roads, processing plants, and worker camps requires hiring many local workers. Revenue flowing to landowners and local governments also rises substantially. However, there are negative impacts too. Oil and gas activities inevitably disrupt and damage the natural environment that communities depend on. Increased truck traffic, air emissions, noise, light pollution, and the risk of spills are huge concerns. Traditional ways of life like farming and fishing can be impaired. The character of small towns also changes dramatically when influxes of transient workers arrive. To balance the scales, oil and gas companies put resources into community engagement and social responsibility programs. This helps establish mutual understanding and address local needs. One key activity is information sharing and consultation with stakeholders. Companies communicate about their operational plans and seek input to mitigate impacts. This may involve distributing fact sheets, holding community meetings, and going door to door. Landowners are consulted about potential leasing and access agreements. Companies also sponsor community development projects to give back. For example, they may upgrade infrastructure like roads, water systems, and public buildings. Educational funding and training programs are common too. Shell Oil even runs a youth entrepreneurship program in Nigeria, providing business and technology skills. Partnerships with local vendors and suppliers are another economic opportunity. Oil and gas firms try to source goods, equipment, and services from community businesses when possible. This keeps money circulating locally. To formalize these efforts, many companies have created social responsibility or community engagement departments. These teams develop policies, administer programs, and track performance. Having staff dedicated to community needs makes a big difference. It shows the company's commitment. Of course, community involvement doesn't stop once operations are underway. Maintaining open communication channels allows ongoing dialogue and issue resolution. For example, community liaison officers will collect and respond to complaints and concerns. But problems can still happen if engagement is not robust enough. One risk is a lack of awareness about risks and emergency response. Communities may not know proper safety procedures, especially where education levels are low. We saw this contribute to several major disasters over the years. Another issue is the unequal distribution of benefits, where local elites capture most gains. Economic disparities may get worse if programs don't reach marginalized groups. Managing community expectations is hard too. Promises don't always match reality on the ground. No matter how well-intentioned, companies must remember they are guests in these communities. Trust comes from years of listening, being accountable, and following words with actions. Only full community participation at all stages enables sustainable development. And there you have it, a comprehensive guide to all things about oil and gas in Cyprus. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Stay tuned for more enriching episodes on Yasoo Cyprus, where every story is a step closer to unlocking the treasures of this beautiful island. For more information about lifestyle, travel, business and investment in Cyprus, you can visit yasoocyprus.com. Until next time, Yasoo Cyprus!